Hi, everyone. We're going to give it a few seconds to let everyone flow in, and then we will begin. Hello and welcome to our Restaurant Rapid Recovery webinar. A little housekeeping before we begin. Everyone is muted during the webinar. All webinars are recorded and sent to all attendees after the webinar has concluded, along with a copy of the slides. There will be Q&A during the presentation today, but please feel free to ask questions all throughout. Once the presentation concludes, I will ask the questions presented in the Q&A box. We may not get to everyone's questions, but we will do our best. If we don't get to your questions, please call 800-616-7232. I will also put this number in the chat. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you, Hannah. Good morning, everybody. Our last and final webinar for restaurant recovery. I hope some of you have found some success in reopening and hopefully have some questions for us for today. I'd like to hear from all of you about what your results, what you found out, and that kind of stuff. So that would be great. Let's get to it. If I can change my slide. Nope. There we go. This is our panelists, as you've come to know us. Mark Elliott, I'm Greg Bell. Bill Waldo is off on assignment today and will be joining us next time. Steve Gostin, Jay Alice, and Tom Bruce was unable to join us this morning from Northern California. Whoop. Now I'm getting too good at my slides. The goal of this webinar, as you know, is to make restaurateurs and their customers feel comfortable and safe, to recapture the trust, and I'm going to say trust again, in the dining experience. Recapturing your customers' trust is the crucial goal in your reopening. Please understand we are only making recommendations, offering resources, not solutions. Our panel of SBDC consultants want to help you develop a plan that fits your ideas, and goals. We will not be discussing funding on the federal, state, county, or city rules or policies on reopening. There's already plenty of discussion on that. What we have found many, many things in the past 4 weeks. One of the crucial things that we found, and I'll mention it again, is that your ultimate goal is to recapture your customers' trust so they go out and bring more clients. Those clients are broken down into 3 different areas. The ambitious and ready, the person that's been banging on the cage, waiting to get into your restaurant no matter what. The second group is the aware group, but very optimistic, but they are aware of the risk of COVID transmission and are interested in seeing what you have done to change your brand to bring them back in. They've missed you, but they want to know that they're safe. The third group is the tough one. They're cautiously waiting inside their homes. They're not venturing out. They're wearing their masks inside their homes and inside their cars. They want to see what happens before they go back. So those are the people that we're looking to attract. We want to know this week what you have found. We've done this for 4 weeks now, and we want to know what you have seen. What have you seen in your restaurant? What are the activities that you've seen? Have you seen a response of people coming back? Do you have happy customers? What has happened in your restaurant? What have you seen in general? Have you visited any other restaurants that you feel safe enough to visit? I have been to several, and I've not been very pleased with my outings and my visits. We want to hear about that. And overall, what have you learned? If you have something that you've learned that you can tell the panel, we would love to hear about it, because we're always trying to find new ideas and different things to suggest where we can head with this. So on to we are also resources, constant resource, and I will mention it again today early on. At the conclusion of this webinar, if you still feel you have questions, or you would like some one-on-one consulting with your specific restaurant or food program, please either call us at the 800 number or email us at the small business website at the bottom of the page. You can request consulting. You can even request one of us to talk to you. The topics today we want to talk about is contact reduction. What they see is what they think. Perceptions to consider to gain trust. When we see all these different elements that are in your guidelines and your practices and things like that that need to be adhered to, the first things that your customer are going to see is the efforts you've made to reduce contact. How many people have been through the drive-through where they hold out the card reader, you stick in the card, they tell you when to take it out, nobody ever touches? Yes. One of the most impressive non-contact efforts I've seen when it comes to taking payment, but it also allows people the opportunity to pay very quickly without handling the money. So you get a safer employee on one side and a safer customer on the other side. Is it a requirement to do it that way? No. Is it a guideline to do it that way? No. But it's the first thing that people see, other than maybe all the plexiglass in front of the customer counters and things like that. But it's the perception that is giving the people the trust back in your operation. So areas where we can reduce contact is almost everywhere. Here we even have a picture of loading to-go items into the delivery container. I would suggest that the delivery driver load the items into his container. That way your employee doesn't have to have cross contact with that thermal cooler, as an example. But let's back up to the process of your guest visit. Pre-ordering is an amazing contact reduction. Their ability to see the menu online through a QR code or an app or even your website, to be able to think about what they want and that kind of thing, to be able to talk about it while they're waiting in queue. Their arrival queue, they need something to do. If you're not able to seat them right away, they need something to do to occupy their time in their experience to your restaurant. So when they're trying to learn about the restaurant and see what your new menu is, because they got your email about your new COVID menu and how we've changed things and made it better for you, they want to know what's different, what's new. Do they still have the Great Western Burger, or did they get rid of it? Do they still have your ribs? Do they still have lasagna? All those things they want to learn about, they could be doing while they're waiting to be seated, or when they're trying to order from, or they're reviewing your menu at home, or they're trying to review your menu at the location. Either way, if they can pre-order, that saves numerous different contacts of people not going to the table, the host is not seeing them, different kinds of things that can help them reduce that contact. Cashless payments are something to consider. I have not seen any restaurants that have moved to credit only or debit. But it's something you might want to consider if you have a high amount of debit credit card usage. I know at my Blaze we had 96, 97% debit card usage at the student level. So it might be an easy switch just to go that direction. It depends on how you want to do that. But when you're talking about cash handling, of course, you're going to talk about frequent sanitation and that kind of stuff because of that contact. I was at the bank yesterday making deposits, and it was amazing the system the teller went through after I was done to cleanse the area, cleanse herself, cleanse the machine, wipe everything down. It was very interesting. Let's see. The role of the server has changed. And this is what we believe is one of the contacts that may be altered. You know, the server is always going to be an expediter. Whether or not the server is going to be an order taker, we think that there is a need for the server to greet the table We don't know the fashion that they would do that. We'd like to hear if anybody has any creative ideas of how to do that. We haven't really seen them change. We still see the server come to the table with the mask on and is ready to take an order, but usually doesn't social distance, is pretty close to the table, just out of force of habit, I believe. But they have been very good in the places I visited about explaining what they have changed and being kind of a secondary greeter to the ambassador at the front door. They kind of tell you what their situation is and how we can help when they're having their experience at the restaurant. So the role of the server is an interesting way to, it's the first person that they're going to see when they come to your restaurant. If they immediately notice that the server does something to not touch, not contact, social distance, prepared, I see you're wearing a mask, thank you for wearing masks at the table, that kind of thing. I was talking to one of the restaurateurs in my town. They're trying to find a way they could get a smile seen through a mask. They actually had people practice in the mirror to tighten an over accentuated smile to see if you get the strings on your mask to indicate that you're smiling. I know that's the key to customer service, and it's a difficult thing to do, but
Greg, I'd like to just throw in a little tidbit about the server change and how that's going to change for all of us. And we all know that it's going to change a little bit for all restaurants, whether they're fine dining or for fast casual. I think the one thing that we have to remember with the server as you're making these changes with contactless, that doesn't mean that the server has to be non-existent to your restaurant. They still can be a huge component to the ambassador part of your restaurant, to making and ensuring that the guests are having a great experience always in the restaurant. Is everything okay? Is everything that you ordered correct? Checking back to the tables. I think that stuff is always going to be around regardless of how we order. You still have to have follow-up with your guests. And I think that's very important no matter what level of dining you're at.
I agree 100%. They are the reason for the experience. They are a server. They are there for the experience. They're there to guide you through the experience, and they're the first person to say thank you and have a nice day when you exit. So I think that when people are at the restaurant and they don't really know what to do, they're that cautious group that wants to be there, but they want to be cautious and don't know. One of the things I saw at another restaurant, when asked the question, are your restrooms still open? And I was like, of course the restrooms are open. They said, yes, they're right over here, but they're only single use. You only, just one person at a time. You're not supposed to go in a group. And they actually had signs up on the restroom doors for that. But the server is there to explain those procedures and explain the changes that add to the experience. So yeah, I agree 100%.
It doesn't matter how good you get it with pre-ordering and all that stuff. You're still going to need the server to refill drinks, grab a side of ketchup. We all know how often the order isn't 100% right, etc. So
yeah,
servers are still going to go, but minimizing and making sure that they're trying to go as contactless as possible is, of course, key.
Contactless as possible, and reassuring that. Got a couple of curbside pickups from different restaurants. One of them handed me the bag with no review of the order. Didn't even read it off the ticket that was stapled to the bag. But the other restaurant went through the order and were not touching the order, but went over it to let me know that they had seen my order, that it was packed correctly and things were in there. So the increase of curbside pickup, I think, is what we're going to see the most of. And Mark, I'm going to tap you again because you're devised a curbside pickup for pay and everything, and then allow people to use patio space for that curbside pickup, which I think is fantastic. almost like a picnic area.
Yeah, and pretty much it doesn't even have to be a patio. As we found in a couple areas, and you probably noticed from around the neighborhoods of your own neighborhoods, restaurants that have parking lots that are not necessarily being used, they're getting the city planners to allow them to use 3 or 4 spots, in which case you can put tables and umbrellas and have now a spot for your guests to come and get your curbside or takeout and actually eat at the restaurant instead of taking this stuff home. I think it's very, very important for those people that are very cautious, that are not quite ready to go in next to somebody in a restaurant. It's a very good opportunity for you to go and still use that curbside pickup or takeout, sit in the parking lot, sit in the patio, and be able to have that nice warm meal just the way it was prepared as it was inside. Yeah. What we've done is that we've also incorporated to have an outside bar that you can go up to and order your drinks and disposable cups and such. Perfect. And so you can still get your curbside, you pick it up, or you can go to the front and pick it up, walk over to the patio with your bottle of wine, and then order drinks from the bar, and then go and sit out on the patio and carry on with your meal. So it's much the same experience as you would have on the inside. Obviously, not the server that you would have continually going by and checking with you, but you do have the same experience of the food and the drinks and the atmosphere of the area that you're in. Now, I have to say that if you have a parking lot, you have to make it nice. You have to have some nice chairs. You have to have tables. You just can't put, metal chair and table up there unless you really are very, very casual and there's maybe a sandwich place or something like that. But I think you can make it nice or people won't use it. But people have been using their cars to tailgate in. I don't know if you've noticed it in your parking lots, but people are taking your food and bringing their chairs and opening up their trunks and parking and eating in your parking lot. So this gives them another option for you. So I would please check with your city planners to see if you're able to use a couple of spots for that, and that gives you another little revenue center outside that you can use. It's not going to be something where you're going to order from. They're just going to be something that they can go and eat at. Yeah. And please, if you're going to do that, make sure you have one person that is designated to go and sanitize the area. Let them know you're going to clean it up and you're going to take care of everything. Just leave it out there. We'll take care of it, and then have somebody come and sterilize the whole area before the next people go out there and eat it. So.
The buster that sterilizes the table and disposes of the trash.
Right.
Doesn't have to be washed, which is excellent. Are you taking advantage of to-go alcohol?
Yes, we are, and I think everybody should if you can. I mean, if you're a Mexican-driven restaurant, I would recommend selling pictures of margaritas or anything that you can sell, especially you make money on. Yeah. Wine, if you sell wine, sell it. Go ahead and take the cork a little bit out and give them 4 glasses and say, here, go knock yourself out at the patio over there. And let us know if you want another. And let us know if you want another bottle.
I have seen quite a few people literally doing that tailgate in larger parking lots around the city in different areas, and people just want to get out. Even my
people are tired of eating in their own dining room.
They're tired of it. They're like, we're gonna get some fun takeout for my son's graduation, and he goes, and eat it at home. And I'm like, do you want to go to the park and eat it? And he's like, no, we can stay at home. But yeah, they just want to get out. They just want to try it. So I like the idea of having the patio. Please, there's so many things being offered by the cities right now. Anaheim, Lake Forest, different cities have application processes to get street parking, bistro parking, they call it, or al fresco in LA County.
As we see the surge coming back a little bit, I think it's very, very important for all the restaurants that are using the curbside and takeout to make sure they understand this is not going away anytime soon. So I would gear up your operation when you open in dining, if you haven't already, make sure that you're capable of doing both at the same time.
Absolutely. It's switched places. I think that's going to be the general highest revenue right now until we get back to a little bit more familiar dining experience. Yeah. But that curbside pickup, that use of the street bistro dining, I think is going to be an excellent area of revenue. And that's, I hope that people are tracking that revenue so they know where they're being successful. These ticket sizes of these curbside pickups are much better than the cover check size that's in the patio or in your dining room for 2 people. So let's make sure that we're advertising that pickup and doing it very, very well. Anyway, thank you for those comments, Mark.
Yep.
So the other area we're going to talk about too is the operations, and this is just kind of an open-ended discussion about the operation. Again, I have, if you're lean, you're cleaning, the age-old restaurant verb taught to me by my first manager at Straw Hat Pizza. This is another virtual perception that you can do for your customer that they see going around. I think that I mentioned in an earlier edition of this that at my grocery store, they have a team of 4 kids in white lab coats that go around and wipe down counters, cabinets, handles, anything they feel that they want to wipe down. And it's just impressive. You see them coming around the corners, like there's the wipe down team. And, you know, we give them a little applause and that kind of stuff. Is that a guideline? Is that a mandatory practice? No, but it is a great customer perception that gives me trust and safety in the area. So even with this picture of 2 guys wiping down tables, we've been supposed to wipe down tables in restaurants after use for 35 years. So this is nothing new to us. We just need to do it a little bit more diligently and a little bit better at the chairs and that kind of stuff. So the operations and things to consider in your operation, I have to recommend walking your store as a customer in the experience. So you can maybe come across things that don't look right before the customer does. You come across something that you see that is a problem that, or an action from one of your employees that isn't quite right. We're all familiar with walking laps in a restaurant, and we're all familiar with doing checks and restroom checks and that kind of stuff. This is kind of a hyper edition of that in an effort to make the guest more comfortable. I was asked last week about touching tables. One of my favorite things to do to meet customers, talk to customers, get feedback, all for free. Certainly we don't want to use the word touch anymore, but we do want to check in with them and say, hey, how you been? Missed you. Thanks for coming back in, that kind of stuff. So your operation stays branded, you know, the customer service they expect, but they also see the changes you've made to increase the opportunities in your restaurant or outside your restaurant for that matter. One of the simplest things I've ever seen was leave the doors open. I know that health department regulations say close your doors. In this time of ventilation, the patios are more accepted because of the fresh airflow, that kind of thing. I think that leaving your doors open reduces that multiple contact of opening the door each time they come in. If you feel as if you don't want to leave your doors open because of some kind of air pattern or noise pollution or something like that, then you better have somebody there that opens the door for them. A greeter, your ambassador greeter, your hostess, backs into the door and greets them with a hello and holds the door open for them. Those are the little things that will help in your operation to show people that you're trying to do the best thing. I think that it shows that you're prepared. I'm going to give a shout out to BJ's Pizza in Downey. Drove past them on Sunday. We were up there and just kind of judging what restaurants had done in the Stonewood complex there. And we came around the corner and their door was open. They had a canopy queuing area where you could sit or stand while you were waiting. But the greatest thing of all was that there was a hostess at a podium with a mask on, perfect uniform. You could tell she was smiling because she was waving to people, inviting people to come in with a wave in, this kind of stuff. It was great. They really, just with a glance, I could tell that these people were prepared to serve us safely. We didn't go in, but I'd even go back if I had a chance. So we talked about the directions, and I want to go over this again. We don't want, you know, a ton of stickers on the floor, stand here, do this, do that. If we get reduced to yellow lines on the floor, like a prison commissary, we don't want to have that experience in our restaurant. The directions need to be explained. Directions need to be offered in a friendly manner. We're taking orders over here now, and then you're seated. These directions help the guest understand what has changed. Let's face it, they don't need to read all the pieces of paper scotch taped to the front door. A cluttered sign on your front door is not going to be read. It's only going to be perceived as, what a mess. What is this? What are all these regulations? Do I have to apply to be seated? That kind of thing. So I see many restaurants that have taken health department directives, state directives, lots of different guidelines in a list, in a checklist form, and have just taped them to their doors, blowing in the wind. If you want to read these, this is what we've done. This does not grant you certification of compliance to your customer. This only clutters up the door so they can't see in, so it becomes difficult to see. But the directions that you have are ongoing. It's your whole customer experience, and it has to be with a smile. It has to be with a little bit of assistance, but not jerking control kind of thing. I put down here the exit too. I think that the exit is one of the best ways to confirm with your client that you appreciate them coming in. As always, we would do that. Thanks, we'll see you again soon. But additional comments like, thank you, be sure to tell your friends, that kind of thing. If you can get them to advertise you, that's the best recommendation you can get. So those are the things that I think are paramount to your operation when you've been open for a week, 2 weeks, and you're reviewing. I hope you review every day. Reviewing with employees as to how their shift went. Is there something that we need to change? Did you have a problem? Do you have an idea of something to do? Timmy, I saw you with the customer. You dropped that salad. You did a great job of recovering, cleaning up, sanitizing. Well done. Way to, turn the bad situation around. Thank you for doing that. Do you have any ideas that we could change? Do you want us to change the packaging on the salad so it doesn't slip off the tray? Whatever. Get those experiences out of your employees. They're right there in the operation doing it. Listen to what they have to say and adapt as you need to, because they're the people that are seeing the customers the most. Anybody else have any other comments? I feel like
pretty much covered that pretty good there, Craig.
We've been rambling. We want to hear from you guys. We're going to open up people's mics. If you have questions, please feel free to chime in.
I think Leanne had a really good question. It's a little lengthy. I won't read the whole thing, but basically she's saying that they're not open for dining yet inside, but they do have patios, and the gist is that their sales are still down 72%. But they feel like they have a lot of rules. They've been sanitizing every station, every door. They have rules that as they walk in, they have instructions. Sometimes the customers to wear the masks. Sometimes they don't want to. They get a little bit angry about the rules and such. So she thinks it's too soon to remove the mask. So I just wanted to answer that question saying that it's your restaurant and you can set up the rules and regulations however you see fit, as long as you're following the guidelines. The guidelines are that they want people to wear masks. So if your guests are getting angry because you would like them to wear masks, let them understand that you don't have to wear your mask, particularly when you're sitting at your table. But when you're walking around through the restaurant, going to the bathroom, interacting with my staff, I need you to wear a mask. And it's not necessarily, put it back on the fact that you're protecting your employees. And that will kind of ease that anger a little bit. They'll know that, hey, we're trying to stay open here and we need to take care of our employees. So I will have people to wait on you. Not everybody is going to be so jumping on the bandwagon for online ordering. I get that. Some people just don't want to mess with it. That's why they come in there. You're going to have to still take orders, but if they can look at the menu on their phone, it makes less for you to have to do and sterilize in terms of menus. Because having to throw away paper menus every day is costly, and having to clean every single menu is also costly and takes time. So I think you still have to educate your customers, but I think that it's very important to understand that they do get angry. They are upset they have to wear a mask on. Nobody wants to wear a mask, especially the server that's been there all day. You think they want to wear that mask all day? No, they don't. But for you to sit in your booth and not have a mask on, but when you get up and go to the bathroom or go somewhere to the bar or whatever, if you put your mask on, that is not too much to ask. So I think that's just one thing you have to educate them about. And yes, you can't have a lot of rules. That's just the way we are right now. But it's your call and how you back them up. If you don't back them up, then they're gonna walk all over you. So yeah, I think you're doing the right thing there, Leanne. I think using the patios as long as you can, and you don't have to open up anytime until you're ready.
Would you like me to unmute her so you guys can hear a little bit more about her experiences?
Yeah, if you'd like to tell us some more, Leanne, that'd be great.
All right, Leanne, I'm going to allow you to talk if you'd like. Just know that there will be no profanity or soliciting allowed. If so, I will remove you. All right, here you go. You just have to unmute yourself, Leanne.
Hi, Leanne.
Hi.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we're just a little cafe. We never did really, order taking at the table, but we have cleared out the tables from the dining area. We have enlarged our patio. We're going through, I'm in Tustin. We are going through the city to get the application to be able to extend, because we have a whole driveway next to our building that can be used for extra patio seating. And then spending the $100 to get the ABC license to extend that alcohol down that too, because we also sell beer and wine. I kind of panicked and just put all those signs, like you said, all over the windows, nice and neatly, but just to let people know how to protect themselves, the purpose of a mask, how to remove a mask safely, those different things that the CDC had put out. We are still requiring masks for our protection, and we've changed this sign. Instead of saying that it's mandated, that it's strongly suggested that when you're less than 6 feet from somebody, you should wear a mask. And it's working okay. We're trying to get people to do more curbside pickup. That was pretty strong when we were when we couldn't open it all, but that sort of slowed down because people like to come in. But I don't know, I'm just still struggling with that fine line between what's right and wrong. And, we're doing it at our own pace. We're not being rushed. My employee is a little bit nervous about just letting everybody and their brother in with, large groups of people in at a time and stuff. So we do have those little markers on the floor. Do you suggest I take those back off and just ask people to?
Mind if I jump in on this a little bit?
Sure.
Here's the overall situation, and this goes to the heart of the matter, which is public perception. And in this day and age, given the nature of things that are going on in society, we're getting pushback on a number of different levels. So while it is suggested to wear a face mask, you've got stuff like the protests where nobody's wearing face masks. So a lot of people in the public now, you've got two sides of the coins. One group that is saying, we're over it, we're ready to move on, we're done with this face mask, it's going to be what it's going to be, and they're ready to move on with life. And then you've got that other group with low risk factors that are really wanting to wear face masks. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter which direction you go, you're gonna get pushback from customers, especially if there's a rise like there is currently now of cases surging. We don't know how bad it is because we don't know about the hospitalizations. We do know that there's more. So given that, your best practices are going to be based on your perceptions and your levels. You're going to have, like, Orange County might be requiring you to wear masks when you go out. I live in San Bernardino County. They have been flip-flopping back and forth as to whether or not you're required to wear masks. Restaurants out here typically require face mask and protective equipment for their employees, but I've been out to 5 or 6 restaurants now, and almost every client that comes in, there's nobody at the door. Nobody's checking temperatures. Nobody's wearing masks. They come in, they sit down, and all of the protective equipment is on the employees. So I would highly suggest that you check with your county and your city and figure out exactly what their recommendations are. But bear in mind, even if you follow those, you're going to have people pushing against it.
Yeah, I agree, Gene. I think one other big step, and I think we've mentioned this probably many times in the last 3 weeks, is that it's very important to have that person we call the ambassador still, that's there to be that person. And it could be you, it could be a manager, it could be even a server or hostess or whatever. As long as you have somebody that's greeting friendly and explaining kind of what's going on and what to expect when you go inside and how we're working it. Because people really don't want to read your door. They don't want to read all the things. We've seen all that stuff. I mean, you can just mention, hey, we appreciate you wearing masks while you're in here. You know, we thank you for coming in and that kind of stuff. You can do it in a nice way, but I think it's very important to have that person to be out there, to be that conduit for your place.
Sorry, Greg.
I think we should go over the purpose of the mask. And this is, my kids are like, we don't want to wear a mask anymore. Why do we have to wear a mask? And I think Dr. Fauci said it best when he said the mask is not there to protect you. Wearing a mask does not protect you from getting coronavirus. You can contract coronavirus most likely by touching your fingers to your eyes or your mouth. The purpose of the mask is to prevent or greatly reduce vaporous breath that can travel up to 5 feet that can contaminate somebody else when they inhale it. The mask does not protect you from inhaling the droplets. It greatly reduces it. So when your employees are required to wear a mask, it's actually a requirement to protect the customers, not the employees. The employees are protecting themselves by constant sanitation, not rubbing their eyes, not licking their fingers, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But the mask is not a barrier to the transfer of COVID. It is a reduction of the vapors coming from your lungs so that you don't have the potential of infecting somebody else. So when people choose to not wear a mask, they're choosing to not protect you. And that's one of my ambassador quotes is, we would like you to wear a mask to help us reduce the potential of contamination. We realize that you don't like to wear a mask, but we feel that it is important for you, as our employees are doing, to reduce contamination inside our restaurant. If you're seated at our tables and you're eating, that's fine, just like Mark said. But if you put your mask on when you move about the restaurant, we would appreciate it. It's crazy.
The problem, these two sides are like oil and water.
They are. They are.
They just don't mix. You can emulsify them, but you let them sit around for a minute, they're going to separate again. So
I was in a Smart and Final, and the manager asked a patron to put on a mask. And he looked at her and said, fine, you don't want my business? And she said, no, not without a mask on. And he walked out. But it's just that clash that you're trying to avoid. And it's like, look at people. We're only trying to be safe. That's the only thing we're trying to do. And nobody understands cross-contamination better than a restaurateur or Dr. Fauci. But when we're talking about the use of masks, the mandatory, the non-mandatory, if you just realize that it's probably a good idea to wear a mask to help cut down on the cross-contamination, then we won't have to shelter in our homes for another 4 weeks. So
It's
One
amazing.
consideration might be that go with your best practices now, kind of follow your recommendations and wear a mask and kind of enforce that. If customers have problems with it, potentially give them some sort of kickback or bonus or coupon, or come back in 3 months and we'll give you a free appetizer, when things have calmed down, blah, blah, blah. Try and retain their business.
That's a good point. I wanted to address something else that Leanne had mentioned, if I can. So we're all focused on the mask. We're focused on the guidelines. And Leanne, you had mentioned how you're still down 72%. We can't change what's happening. It sounds like you're doing everything you possibly can to keep your employees and your guests safe, and I applaud you for that. Start looking at a focus on that 72%. Start marketing, start promoting. As Greg pointed out at the beginning, there's still a large group that is very cautious. Let them know what you're doing. It might seem like overkill, but there are people out there that are waiting and they're hesitating because they're not sure what is safe. But start looking at ways that you can build your business now, because I think that's important. You've got to recoup that 72%, cut it down. We're so focused on all these guidelines and what's happening, you've already implemented everything there. Start working on marketing, public relations, promoting. What can you do to build your cafe business, get back in with the community and things like that?
Leanne, how are you functioning at that 28% of sales? Rather than looking at the percentages, the 0 percentages there, with that 28% of sales, are you able to break even?
Because I got a very small PPP, that's helping, but I'm just writing. I mean, I've kept all my employees employed. They've been cut a little bit, so I'm also doing work share, but we're barely making it. My landlord's been very generous, and I've only had to pay half of my rent for the last 3 months. But it's just that fine line of having enough staff to be that, have that extra person and afford them to be the ambassador when your sales aren't justifying the need to have 3 employees in the store.
You're right.
It's just that fine line of how can we, and we have a reward program. We communicate. We have a 4,000 customer base reward system. We're communicating. We're very, we use Instagram a lot, and we're always posting our newest stuff, what we're doing, how we're sanitizing, what we're doing. So I feel like we are doing all of that stuff, and it's just taking a while for things to come back. I think I'm going to make the appearance of the store look a little bit less rules, but still enforce the rules, but still make it a little bit nicer. But like I said, it's just that fine line to be able to afford enough people there to be, the greeter, the this, the that, all that stuff, and be able to pay them at the same time. So
When do you think, Leanne, when do you think you have targeted that you will reopen inside?
Well, I had targeted July 1st, but it was either yesterday or the day before was our highest number of reported cases in Orange County. And, there's several groups that are protesting and trying to get the mask mandated back again. So I don't know how that's going to affect things. But like I said, July 1st, I'd like to shoot for. I promised my employees I'd probably go a little bit slower than everybody else is, just to make sure that we're protected. It's really difficult for me because I have a super rare lung disease, and so I can't be in the store that much. So fortunately, I have an amazing team that's running it for me, but I have to take care of them too, emotionally and physically.
Well, I think you're doing everything the right way, and I like the fact that you've got a target date when you think you're going to open. And I think there's nothing wrong with sticking to that, considering the current feeling of what's going on right now. So.
Have you modified your operating hours at all?
Yeah, we've cut them back. We were 10 to 6. We're now 11 to 4. Okay. Just in the area of town that we are, there's not a lot going on late at night unless you are a full-blown restaurant, which we are not. So we just cut back because we seem to get the majority of sales during that time anyways, and anything later than that, there's really not a lot of sales. So it doesn't seem to make sense to be staying open later right now.
Have you considered changes to your menu, adding stuff to make you more of a restaurant?
Not at this time because of the way that our building is set up. It's really long and skinny, and we don't really have a lot of space in order to like keep the number of employees and customers down to where there's not large numbers at one time. If we were to go full-blown restaurant, we'd have too many people in a small kitchen area preparing food, and we're just trying to keep the numbers in general down.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a balance between staff and space and revenue streams. But if you were to identify an item that might be, and I'm not familiar, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with your restaurant, but if you were, you don't want to go full blown restaurant. We have entrees now, but if you were to identify a couple of items that might be brought in that were of profitable level that could add $5 to the guest charges, like you're here, maybe that wrap or that sandwich would help add revenue or something on your menu, just as a twist to get a little bit more revenue on the thing. If you just saw that, I mean, I had one restaurant that didn't do a lot in beverages and added a whole grab and go kind of beverage counter that they could sell some teas and things like that, and it really bumped up their revenue because it was an add-on drink for the item they were buying. But yeah, I understand it's difficult to do that with your space. It's different. So, do you do projections and forecasting for what you're going to do for the week and see how they compare to actual?
Oh yeah, we have every day we have a projected amount that we should be doing or would like to be doing, and then we kind of base the rest of the week on that to watch labor costs and to try and run promotions on certain items, and and there's also that fine line, like how much discount do you want to give when you're already not making any money, so
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we kind of need to move on. I think we probably have a lot of other questions. Do we have more questions, Hannah, or?
Yeah, we do. Leanne, if you would like to,
Leanne, I appreciate your comments. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for your help.
yeah, Leanne, if you want to come in to meet with any of our consultants, please call the number in the chat box. I'll re-put it, and then we'll connect you with any of them.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Actually, it would be a phone call, everybody. It's not. We can do a Zoom meeting. We don't come into the office.
Yeah.
All right. So our next question is, what is the best way to let my customers know we are open and safe?
A giant banner. That's my number one answer.
That and social media.
A banner that faces your street or highway that people see. If they're a frequent customer of yours, they've been waiting for 4 months to see what changes happen to the front of your location to indicate that you're open. And a now open for dine-in is a great banner. A now open for takeout and delivery is excellent. The Subway around the corner from my house used white, the window glass pens and wrote now open. That's the number one thing you can do. And then of course the Instagram is social media is exponential.
I think it's very important with, especially at Facebook, that you have a very live Facebook interaction with your guests and your customers and your followers. Let them know what's going on, and let other people, and make sure you're answering it, following up with the comments that are made on your reviews or whatever. And that's just another way for you to get out there and talk with them. Social media is huge for you guys.
Yeah,
If you've got your staff, if you're on Facebook, you can get your staff involved too. You can get your servers, your bartenders, etc., posting as well, saying, "Hey, come on down. We've got this, that, and the other thing going on. I'm here."
Yeah,
which is fantastic. It's going to be exponential. I think that the minute you decide you're going to open and you've planned and you're ready, then you got to shout it to the world.
Next question is, how do I maintain my brand and minimize the menu?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's you, Greg.
Yeah,
You're the menu master.
I love menu mastering. Okay, brief overview. You're looking at your menu and you've got all these different items, and I'm not, Leanne, a full-blown restaurant. I'm a sandwich shop. But I'm going to look at what my most popular 3 sandwiches are and promote those. Probably my lower sales, and I'm talking about previous sales. Prior to COVID, I never sold my smoked salmon salad sandwich. So it wasn't very popular, and so I'm going to just take that off the list. I'm going to narrow that down. I still have a brand of my sandwiches, and people know about my sandwiches, but I have a couple side dishes and some salads as well, and there's some very popular salads that I sell a lot of, but I noticed that many people don't buy my Caesar salads. The other salads are more popular. They're a little bit more original, and Caesar salad doesn't sell. So I'm going to take those off and try and narrow, but I still have the brand association with the product. Now, if you're in a franchise situation, this is very interesting to do, and it's very difficult to do unless your franchisor can give you some open responsibility of maintaining the brand while trying to cut your costs. When I'm looking at menu items, I want to eliminate the expensive things and add the things that are less expensive that I can sell and make more money. It's just amazing what you see when you drop 1% from your food cost or 1% from your paper cost. It just falls to the bottom line like money through a vending machine. So eliminating or maintain your menu but simplifying it goes from a couple different directions: costing, popularity, and of course branding. Is this a signature dish, that everybody orders? Now, would I quit offering a double? Probably not. Would I quit offering a side dish that is expensive and labor intensive to do? Probably yes. Those are the ways that I would change it and make differences in your menu.
Yeah, I think if you have a POS system that provides you with data, but you're not using it, a lot of people don't use the data provided from their POS systems, and you have to analyze it and look, like Greg said, and also be able to cross-utilize menu product. The more you can use chicken in a variety of dishes and eliminate some of the other items, it's just going to help your cost, but it helps with production and keeping everything streamlined. You got to get creative. I think we had talked in a meeting once about the different uses of pizza dough and how many different items you can actually create and sell just with pizza dough. And I know a lot of places that have started introducing flatbread because of COVID and the changes to the menu. And they've been very successful with it.
Yep. And talk about cheap to make.
Right?
Absolutely. Those are the things that you need to look. Thank you, Steve. That was definitely, I agree with that 100%. The use of the POS is great. And I kind of forget to mention that. I think of the POS system is the other side of my brain because it gives me so much information after the day is done, or even during the day. It's telling me what I'm doing per hour and that kind of stuff to labor costs. I love it. But, when you're eliminating or changing your menu or simplifying it, one of the things that I talked to my employees about was, we hate making this one. Why? It takes forever. I had a client that did a taco, and their customer service, speed of service rather, was terrible because it took so long to prepare the taco. And I'm like, my gosh, you got to have speed of service. And in this era of COVID and curbside pickup and dining on the patio and order and get out of here kind of thing, your speed of service is a factor you want to look at as well. If you're spending more than 3 or 4 minutes making a product, you got to turn it over. I stood and watched what the bistro or the employee at Starbucks does to create the bacon sandwich, and I was actually timing them and was kind of impressed that they would spend 4 minutes to make that bacon sandwich reheated. So different stuff to look at.
We have one more question.
Okay, sorry, I'm rambling.
Oh, someone just answered it in the chat.
Oh, that's nice.
All right, so
Good-
then
No,
we'll
but-
share with everybody though.
Hey, before we wrap up, I just want to share, I know you guys, we've all been getting emails in the last 2 days, and a lot of our clients don't know this yet. A lot of cities, and I believe even the County of Orange, have released grants.
Yes, Steve, yes.
The EIDL is coming back for people who have not applied for it in the past. So I just wanted to express to everybody on the call that there are opportunities coming available for more help. Like I said, the EIDL has been returned, but my understanding is you could not have applied for it in the past, but if you did, you can update. But there are numerous cities. I know Fountain Valley, Los Alamitos, Costa Mesa. I mean, there's a lot of cities that are starting to release grants.
Yeah.
Check your city, contact them, find out what help is available.
If you go onto our website, ociesmallbusiness.org, I've also put it in the chat box. And then when you first log in, you'll see a little gray box that says local loans and grants. If you click that, we have all of the loans and grants that are currently available for each city and the recorded webinars. So if you've already missed the webinars for your city, you can go back and watch it, and the link to apply to them as well.
Thank you, Anna. I have a little bit more of clarity to the EIDL loan. I had clients that applied back in May and were sent an email that said, at this time, we are not processing your loan application. We are only working on agriculture. It turns out that those clients received emails yesterday and today stating that good news, we're working on your application again. So if you did apply to the EIDL loan and receive an application number that begins with 36, the real long one, you are in fact in the queue and they are now working on your applications again. You should not reapply. Reapplying would cause a confusion in the system and an overlap and a delay. So if you got that, if you got a denial letter saying that we could not figure out something and you're declined, there is a reconsideration program now with the SBA that you can contact them through a special email and apply for reconsideration. Again, if you need more information on that, please visit our website.
And also in the chat box, I just want to remind everybody there's a template from BBSI, which is the Human Resources template. And in that template, which is available for you, it gives you forms and templates of everything you would be needing to do in terms of your exposure to the COVID virus, things that you need to have about your protocols. And you just look through that. It's 38 pages long, but it has all these templates that you can use. You can put your own name in it and change it around a little bit and use those as resources for you when you need that.
Greg, can you go to the last slide?
Oh, next slide. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, just so we can.
There we go.
Time. There we go. So if you guys, this is our last week for rapid recovery for restaurants. If you'd like to meet with any of these lovely gentlemen, you can do so by calling the 800 number on the screen or going to our website and filling out the appointment form, and we will connect you with any of them and they will help you one-on-one for no cost.
Good luck to all of you.
Yes,
Good
and
luck,
stay
definitely.
safe.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, guys.